What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec Lace. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood. Today's guest on the podcast is Sean Gilmartin. I want to give you just a little bit of a background on today's guest. His wife is former press secretary Kayleigh McEnany, and last year during one of my many trips to the White House with press credentials, I sat in on one of Kayleigh's briefings. I was trying to get a question in. Didn't have any luck, but as she was leaving the podium, I shouted out, "You crushed that, Kayleigh," and every head in the briefing room snapped back to see who it was that shouted it, and I didn't realize that the gentleman standing next to me was her husband, Sean Gilmartin. So I ran out the door there, caught up with him right before the Oval Office to introduce myself, invite him on the podcast. Then I went to go have a cup of coffee. The White House calls me and says, "Hey, are you from First Class Fatherhood, and did you shout out, 'You crushed it, Kayleigh?'" Which kind of came out more like, "You crushed it, Katie," because I was a bit nervous. And I said, yeah, that was me. Am I in any kind of trouble? And they said, no, we just needed to confirm who it was because the correspondents were already putting out misinformation that it was Kayleigh's husband, Sean Gilmartin, that had shouted it. So it all got straightened out, and the White House ended up emailing all the correspondents that it was, in fact, Alec Lace of First Class Fatherhood who shouted it and not Sean Gilmartin. But they don't call him the fake news for nothing. On my train ride home back to Jersey later that night, my wife called me and said, "Anderson Cooper's on CNN. He's saying that it was Sean Gilmartin that shouted it and not you."
As she left the briefing room, a voice was heard to say, "You crushed it, Kayleigh." It was her husband. He'd been there.
Kayleigh immediately corrected this on Twitter by saying that it was a reporter from First Class Fatherhood, and she tweeted it with a screenshot of the White House memo. Afterwards, many news articles were written about the incident. All were false, some were funny, but I did cause quite a headache for Kayleigh and her husband Sean, and for that, I'm sorry. I finally had the opportunity to apologize to Sean in person when I ran into him at Turning Point USA. He was kind enough to sit down with me for a quick interview, which you are about to hear right now. So please get down there, smack the subscribe button, and tap the like, and let's jump into it right now with Sean Gilmartin on First Class Fatherhood. Alec Lace live at Turning Point USA here, joined by First Class Father Sean Gilmartin. Thanks for giving me a few minutes of your time here.
Yeah, not a problem.
All right, let's start it out like this here. How many kids do you have? How old?
So we got one daughter. She's a year and a half, and it's quite a ride.
Yeah, I got four myself. Now, did you guys know what you were having? Did you do like a gender reveal, or did you wait till the end?
No, we didn't do any of the gender reveal stuff. We both kind of didn't want to do any of that. So we did find out what it was. So that was, exciting. Exciting and terrifying at the same time.
Yeah, very cool. You guys planning on any more, or one and done here?
No, we're planning on a couple more. Not sure the timeline, but we're letting God decide on that one.
Yeah, I love that. Listen, how would you say so far becoming a father has kind of changed your perspective on life?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big perspective shift. You're no longer doing things for yourself. Obviously, that comes with getting married, and then obviously when you have a child too. I mean, it's selfless work. I mean, you're doing everything for the benefit of your child, making sure they're protected, they're safe, they're fed. Everything is geared towards making sure that their safety is number one. They're the number one priority.
Well said. What would you consider to be the top values that you're hoping to instill in your daughter growing up?
Yeah, I mean that's every parent, I think, they want their child to be a morally sound individual. Obviously with what my wife does and everything, and kind of everything's in the spotlight kind of thing. So we want to make sure that she stays grounded. Obviously our faith is very important to us. So our faith and belief in God and Jesus and everything like that. Just making sure that she has a fundamentally sound, morally sound upbringing and childhood.
Yeah, I'm a faith-based person myself. My favorite part of the day, I have four kids, like I said, and my favorite part of the day is sitting down at the dinner table. We say prayers before dinner, and to me, I love spending that time. Now, I do got to bring this up here, too. Like, we had a little thing at the White House here where they confused you from me because I shouted out at the end of the briefing. And I was nervous because I was in the briefing trying to get Kayleigh to call on me for a question. I can only imagine what it must be like to sit there and watch your wife where all these people ask you a question. Well, how do you go through? What are the emotions that you feel when you're watching her, especially when she was press secretary?
Yeah, I think it's obviously you kind of take some of the things personal a little bit, but you got to understand that it's just a job. While they're doing their job from the media standpoint, I get it. I may not agree with it, but I get it. It's tough, but you just got to roll with it. Especially on the stuff with social media, the stuff that they go through on social media that she goes through. It's, it stinks, but at the same time, I just got to block it out.
Yeah, I mean, I see it on a much smaller scale than you do. I mean, just when I interview certain guests or have certain people on the show, I'll get hammered or attacked on social media. And I know you know what that's all about. Bringing it back into you as dad here, what does your bedtime routine look like? Are you a storyteller? Are you a book reader, a lullaby guy? How does bedtime look like?
So our bedtime, we try to keep the same routine as much as possible. With what Kayleigh does and what I do, a lot of times it's a lot of stuff on the road, a lot of FaceTime and on the phone. But when we're together as a family unit, we always do. She has a little, Bible book that we always read a passage from there. While she's, after we change the diaper, put her pajamas on, and she's drinking her, bedtime milk or whatever. We always do a bedtime story with, from the Bible verse, and then we say our prayers. We're always doing that every single night before we go to bed. So that kind of goes back and brings it back into the, making sure that she has a fundamentally morally sound upbringing.
Yeah, really good stuff. And then what about yourself here? What kind of plans or goals do you have here for yourself in the future?
So as of right now, still playing. I signed a minor league deal with the Minnesota Twins not too long ago. So I'm working, getting back to that. That's exciting. Love doing it. I'm going to try to play as long as I can until they take the uniform from me. So yeah, that's on a personal level, that's me. I want to maintain what I can do on the field playing and as long as I can.
Awesome. And the last thing I want to hit you with here, Sean, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about-to-be father who's out there listening?
Get all the advice you can from as many parents as you can. Because no matter what anybody tells you or what, you're never as prepared as you think you are. But I would just say get as much advice from as many people as you possibly can.
Yeah, well said. I love the message. This has been an honor for me. I got to say, Sean, you're a first-class father all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Right.